together, they had given each other courage and hope. Bearing the numbers the Nazis had tattooed on their arms, they had found in each other the strength to hold on to their humanity and resist becoming only numbers. They had vowed to help each other survive, both in body and soul. And they did survive, Baruch Hashem, but when the war ended, each went his own way, eager to begin anew. For sanity's sake, they each tucked the past away into a deep locked box that would be open only on rare occasions. Menachem had settled in Israel. Shlomi Kaufman obtained a visa for America. Consumed with creating a future and healing the wounds of the past, they had lost touch with each other. That was 42 years ago. Now, with unbelieving eyes and trembling hands, Mr. Kaufman beheld the unmistakable face of his friend once again. Shlomi decided in his mind Menachem Reiner would get the 6th Aliyah. As the Torah reading began, the Gabbai felt as his heart could not be contained in his chest. He wanted to leap across the rows of men and fall upon his friend in a mighty embrace. This must be how Joseph felt when he finally saw his brother Benjamin, he thought. All these years. Nevertheless, he clamped a tight lip on his emotions and performed his duty, calling up each Aliyah with the traditional chant of Ya'amod, followed by the honoree's Hebrew name. By the 5th Aliyah, however, beads of sweat were sparkling on his forehead and tears were rolling down his cheeks. He prayed that when he came to call the person for the 6th Aliyah, his voice would not break and he would be able to speak. There was no need to ask Menachem about his name because he could never forget it, Menachem ben Yehoshua. For the first time, he began to wonder how Menachem would react when they came face to face. And then it was time to call him up. But Mr. Kaufman could not open his mouth. There were no words to fit the moment. All the suffering locked away in that figurative box was now out in the open, laid out before his eyes, and it was too much for him to bear. The congregation began murmuring and looking toward Mr. Kaufman, fearing that the pale, trembling man was becoming ill. A deep cry rose within the Gabbai, a cry from God that contained in its broken sound all of his children's cries of anguish. Mr. Kaufman turned in the direction of the friend and at last found his voice. He said, Ya'amod 572000148. The baffled men in the shul did not understand what had happened. What was this number? What had become of Mr. Kaufman? But in the back of the room, one man understood completely. The number was Menachem's number, tattooed on his arm, and as a lifetime reminder of the darkest period of Jewish history, the epic tragedy of his people that he had witnessed with his own eyes. The entire shul sat in stony silence as Menachem moved slowly toward the bima. Finally, as they saw him approaching his long-lost brother, they understood the scene that was unfolding in front of them. Menachem needed no introduction. With tears coursing down his face, he cried out, Shloimela, Shloimela, is that really you? Yes, Menachem, it's really me, Mr. Kaufman answered, embracing his friend. And they wept on each other's shoulders, rocking gently. Aye, Mr. Kaufman breathed. Words were powerless to carry this chaotic emotion. The entire shul sat spellbound, witnessing a moment that could have melted a heart made of iron. As these two men stood together, living witnesses to the Jewish people's miraculous survival, it seemed that the heavens had opened up to declare through them that Hashem would never forget his people. Am Yisrael Chai. The Jewish nation is alive, and Torah has been restored in America. The Holocaust survivors who came to America planted the seeds, and it is up to us to reap the fruits of their labor and continue their legacy.
Good afternoon. Over the years, we have commemorated here the Kristallnacht, which is the initiation of the Progroms in Germany. But this year we want to emphasize that Progroms were not limited just to Germany, but were all over Europe. And Moshe Yassur and I are both two survivors of these pogroms in other countries. He in Romania and I in Belgium. The town of Yassi, from where Moshe Yassur comes, is about 1,400 miles away from the town of Antwerp, Belgium. Nevertheless, the Germans initiated the same type of pogroms in both of those cities as far as they are. Both of us had our father killed during the war and were saved and survived because of our mothers. We both come and respond to the Torah by the names of Moshe ben Ze'ev, which is Ze'ev is our name of our Hebrew fathers. Moshe Yassur and our similarities do not end there, as you will hear later on. Moshe Yassur was born in the town of Yassi in Romania in 1934 and survived together with his mother one of the worst pogroms in Europe during the Second World War, where 12,000 Jews or more were essentially killed in the streets of Yassi by the Germans and the help of the local people. After the war, while going to high school in Romania, he established himself as a child actor in the original Goldfarb Yiddish language theater, as well as the National Romanian Theater. In the 1950s, he immigrated with his mother to Israel, where he served as a soldier and an officer in the Sinai Campaign in 1956 and the Six-Day War in 1957. I came to Israel in 1949 and served in the Israeli army in 1958. While building a career in Israel, Moshe Yassur received a special scholarship to study in Paris, and he was able to work and assist Jean-Marie Serrault, a noted collaborator of Samuel Beckett and Eugene Ionesco, and he came known to know Ionesco rather personally, and he's one of his essential disciples. In New York, he worked as a director of the new Federal Theater, the Soho Rep, and taught theater, and most recently has gone back to Romania to direct several plays in Yiddish for the Jewish State Theater in Bucharest, as well as directing premiere production in Romania. His recent production in New York is an adaptation of Bashevis Singer, the story Gimpel Tam, or some of you know it as Gimpel the Fool, which was performed in the Jewish National Theater, the Volksbühne. It is a pleasure and an honor to present Moshe Yassur, my colleague in arms and in the Holocaust. Moshe.
Thank you, Moshe, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity to tell you the story of what happened to my little town, Yassi. It is a story that I haven't told yet. I'm 76 old, and this story has never been told by me. Yassi is the second town after Bucharest, Bucharest being the capital of Romania. It is situated in northeast of Romania, close to the Russian border, what was then, before the war, the Russian border. Now it is the Ukrainian border. It is a town that the population is about, used to be, before the war, about 80,000 people, half of them Jews, 40,000 Jews in a little town like Iași. Now, Iași was the cradle of the Romanian culture. It had a university, a school of medicine, a school of engineering. It had a national theater. As a matter of fact, in 1876, Avrum Goldfaden, the father of the Yiddish theater, came to Iași and started the Yiddish theater in Iași. The Yiddish theater that afterwards was very successful, and its echoes became known all over the world, and even on 2nd Avenue became the Broadway of the 2nd Avenue. Jews came to Iași in 14th century, invited by Stefan cel Mare, one of the chieftains of Romania, of Moldavia at that time. They came from Russia, from Poland. They were invited to help develop commerce, develop trade in trade, and little by little it developed into quite a community. It is very interesting that although the anti-Semitism was gradually very, very rampant in Romania, the Jews were eking out a living, and they somehow strived in Iași. However, in the 19th century, with the advent of nationalism, it was very, very difficult, and it culminated in the outburst of hatred that took place in my town in 1941 in Iași. At that time, at the beginning of the war, we were hiding in cellars because of the Russian bombardments. So on that special, infamous Sunday, I remember it was a Sunday. I was 7 years old. I and my family, we were in a cellar with other families from the courtyard, and we heard about 10 o'clock in the morning shouts, "Raus, raus, afare, afare, out, out." The little doors from the cellar opened, and we marched out with the hands up. Out into the streets, where other Jews were waiting. As we gathered, my mother held me by the hand, and she said to me, "Moishele, if they shoot you, if they start shooting, don't worry, it does not take long. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't take long." We were herded in a convoy towards the police station. On the way, we heard, "Don't worry, it is only a formality." And I asked my mother, what is formality? My mother told me, formality is good. And we saw what it is. As we entered the courtyard, they started shooting, and I have separated from my mother. I didn't see her, and people fell on top of me, and I stood and I lay down in the courtyard of the police until the evening. Jews were herded into the courtyard, but not only in the courtyard of the police. The killing took place. On the way into the police, people were killed by the Germans and especially by their neighbors, by the Romanian neighbors, who really gathered with sticks and with makeshift weapons. And as a child, I remember lying down, they came and they dug me out, and they asked me in Romanian whose child I am, and I didn't want to answer. So they asked me in Yiddish whose child I am. So I said to them, I told them who I am. They said to me, you want us to take you home? I said, no, I can go home by myself. I remember very well the journey from the police station home. The streets were strewn with corpses, and I see it still, the street sweeps gathering the corpses and putting them in garbage bins. As I got home, I found my mother home, tearing a sheet from the bed and wrapping her head, because she had a gash in her head, all the time singing, telling it's nothing, it doesn't hurt, it's okay. Not wanting to scare me. My father was not home. 3 days later, a neighbor said to me, Moshe, you can start saying Kaddish. From then on, we kept into hiding, and life became more and more bearable. 12,000 Jews were killed in the course of 3 days. Many in the courtyard of the police station, many in the streets, but the great majority were herded into trains, freight trains, without air, without water, and they were driven back and forth until they died. We survived in Yassi during the war. The remaining Jews, those who remained in Yassi, at the first opportunity that the gates opened a little bit in Romania, Romanian communist Romania, the Jews flocked to Israel, ran for their lives to save themselves in Israel. myself included, and my mother. In 2004, as I went to Yassi to do some work, I visited my town. Yassi, before the war, had more than 100 synagogues. One remained. One synagogue from the Middle Ages, the 14th century, and only one synagogue who is now more of a museum. It's hardly a minyan could be found to really have a service on Shabbos. During the holidays, I was there. There was a few broken elderly Jews who remained in Yassi. The rest are in Israel, and I would like to tell you that on that trip, as I took a cab from the train station to where I had to go, I told the cab driver only the address. I speak English with an accent, but Romanian I speak perfectly. And I said to the cab driver only 3-4 words in Romanian, the address of the place where I had to go. After a few minutes, he looked in the mirror, he looked at me, and he said, "You know, since the Jews left, we are unable to make even a pair of decent shoes." I want to thank you for the opportunity to tell the story of my town. Thank you.
I was much younger than Moshe. I was 2 years old when the Progroms started in Antwerp, and my story will be very short because it's second-hand primarily. In 1941, in April, I was just a year old, the Anti-Jewish League in Antwerp, which was primarily the SS, the Flemish SS, went on a rampage and burned 200 Jewish shops in the town, burned them down, plus 2 synagogues of the 5 in the town that existed. Within a year, the Germans instituted and executed the law with the yellow star, that all Jews had to wear the yellow star and were completely isolated and could not do any business essentially whatsoever. That same year, in the months of August, the Antwerp police, and this is important, always the local police helped the Germans, arrested more than 1,000 Jews in the city, 280 of them children. And those were all deported within 2 days to Auschwitz and Birkenau, where they were executed. From the Belgian population, 62% of all Jews of Belgium were executed and died in Auschwitz and Birkenau. Among them was my maternal grandfather, Joseph Meisel, my father, Willy Rolf Zeev Loria, my mother's sister, Anna Meisel Gottlieb, and her husband, Paul, and their daughter, my only niece, Regine. Their names are here on the monument, and it gives them a place because they have no other grave whatsoever. I thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my great pleasure today to introduce the Never Again Scholarship Award winner. To honor those 12,000 people in your hometown and everyone else, I encourage all of you to listen to what Abby has to say, and I'm going to be handing out her handout about what you can do about genocide today. You can all imagine during the Holocaust that people who were suffering and dying said, "Why isn't the world helping us? This is horrible. Surely people out there care." And right now, this minute, someone in the Congo who is suffering as a result of genocide is wondering, where is the rest of the world? Doesn't anybody care? It is our obligation to care. And it is our obligation to do something about that caring. And I expect that you're going to leave here today and do something for somebody that's facing what we faced in the Holocaust. Abby is quite an accomplished young lady. In addition to winning our scholarship today, she is a senior at Clover Hill. She is a student athlete. She runs cross country and track. She is the president of her Student Council Association. She is the president of her chapter of the National Honor Society. And she is the president of the Varsity Club, an organization started by student athletes to do service projects here in the community. So without further ado, I introduce to you the 2010 Never Again Scholarship winner, Abby Badura.
The noises she was hearing weren't screams. A scream could be defined, but these terrible sounds were indescribable. They permeated the air with a heaviness and dread too strong to bear, and shattered the silence of the dirt streets that were now engulfed in a chaotic storm of dust. Those shrieks she heard, the primal and uncontrollable cries, could only be labeled as one thing: pure terror. She knew her beautiful and courageous husband was gone when she had heard his own desperate cry for help that had torn her heart to pieces, and the gunfire was only confirmation. With one shot, the Lord's Resistance Army had taken her love, her life, and most alarming to her current situation, her protection. Now that the dust was settling on the bodies strewn violently across the street, she knew that the soldiers would be coming for her. As cold yet clammy hands grabbed her from behind, it was clear that they planned to do more than just kill her. Violence and widespread killing have wreaked havoc on Congo for decades. But since 1996, the start of the first civil war within the country, killings and assaults on the citizens of Congo have escalated terribly. Incidents like the one described above have become commonplace. The Lord's Resistance Army and the Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, both led by leaders from the Rwandan genocide, have terrorized the country, seeking out both former Rwandans that have fled across the border to Congo, as well as innocent Congan citizens to kill. Their attempts to cleanse the area, including pillaging and burning innocent villages, massacring village men, and raping and killing countless women and children. What, then, can we do to prevent these atrocities? First, spread awareness of genocides, massacres, and racial oppressions across the world. Give talks in your community or write letters to your local paper in which you describe the current genocides around the world, or even just share these stories with friends and family to make them more aware. Start a campaign against genocide in a selected area of the world that holds importance to you. Social networks and media allow you to start a strong and powerful campaign that can touch millions with an important message to make efforts to end genocide in a mere minutes. Aid relief organizations such as Enough, as supplies and aid are vital to the survival of those living in oppression and torture. Contact your local representatives or senators or even higher authorities to press them to do more worldwide to stop genocides from occurring. And finally, support medical relief efforts such as those of the International Rescue Committee, who have taken a special interest in Congo by setting up countless free medical centers and counseling services for women and children impacted by rape and mutilation, by volunteering with them or donating to their cause. With your help, we can stop the brutality of genocides from taking the lives of millions more around the world.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Marcus. My grandmother is Ruth Marcus. She was a Holocaust survivor. She was also a French resistance fighter. Her family died at the hands of the Hitler and his Nazi regime. Their names are inscribed here in the memorial. They're also on the inside, like at the last page of your brochure. They're like in the fourth paragraph down. Their names are listed there. They are Samuel Wolf, that's her father, They are Selma Wolf, her mother. They are her sister, Helena Levy, her sister's husband, Joseph Levy, and their son, also I have here is Joseph Levy, but I know it's not correct. But anyways, that was her nephew, my grandmother's nephew, also died. And as my mother and I were talking, how when Inga asked me to speak here today, it was apparent that I knew so little about them. And it's unfortunate that I didn't take the opportunity to find out more about my grandmother's family. I know they were religious. I know they were very much Orthodox Jews. I know my grandmother always told the story about how she would bike on Shabbat, or she did bike on Shabbat, and got in really big trouble for that. I know they were in the wine and import-export business, but that's really all I know. I don't know what their personalities were like. I don't know any of those details that we really should know about our family. So my word to all the people who are my age and even older, talk to your parents and grandparents so that you can find out about those people who didn't survive, whose names might be up on that memorial, because one day Inga's going to call you up and say, you know, we want you to speak, and your words won't be like mine was, you know, Inga, I really don't have anything to say. I don't know what to say. So don't be like me and have such little knowledge of your family. It's important that you share it. I share it with my daughters here today, and hopefully they'll share it with their children when I'm no longer here. So we have this memorial here so that we all remember. We remember that they died, that their death was not in vain. And while it has been 60 years since they died, we will never forget. And we will always have that and this memorial here to remind us about what they died for, and it was not in vain. Thank you.
Now, Ira and Tim Carson will lead families of candle lighters. They're listed in your program. Like 6 candles.
Okay, Rachel, got it. Okay.
What's she doing? What's she doing with it?
Okay, who do you want me to pass this? You were putting it over here? Are we putting it over here? Take it over here? Okay. All right, I'll...
Where are you going?
I guess I can light these for you. You want me to light or you want?
Can you stop for a second?
Most of the names are our names. Okay, where do I go?
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
She wanted it in the middle. My family is here, but she wanted it in the middle. You want to put it there, Rachel? Rachel?
Okay.
Put it here.
I don't know where. Do you see Golub? Or do you see Golub some? Or does it matter? It could be up here, no? I don't see it. Okay. I haven't seen you in 100 years. What should I put? Does it matter?
I don't know.
Maybe it's on the other side, you think?
Yeah, no.
Right. You see Golub up here? G, is that G?
Who, Golub?
Uh-huh. G or...
It's right here.
Right here. Oh yeah, wow, look at this from the top. From the Menachem Zemniak all the way down.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you. You're an expert.
Gertrude H. Winmiller, Ruth M. Winmiller, Joseph Wolf, Clara Wolf, Albert Hyman, Helene Hyman. Menachem Zimniak, Shana Zimniak, Hillard Zimniak, Rivka Zimniak, Zalonka L. Zimniak, Abraham J. Zimniak, Joseph L. Zimniak, Raphael Zimniak, Fela Zimniak, Esther Zimniak, Fega Zimniak.
Meyer Hurt, Anna K. Hirsch, Hedwig H. Sahn, Moritz I. Buchtal, Martha H. Buchtal, Ingeborg Buchtal, Moses Bayer.
תחת כנפי השכינה אם קדשי וטהרים כי זו דרכי המזהירים את נשמת אחינו ואחיותינו שנהרגו ושנשחטו ושנשרפו בגטאות ובמחנות השמדה בעבור שאנו נודרים לקיים את זכרם לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים בעל רחמים ברחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולם בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני, הוא נחלתם. ינוח בשלום על משכבם ונאמר
Beautiful. There's an insert in your program, and it has this Kaddish for 6 million. We'll read it responsively. I'll give you a minute to get to it. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ba'alma Divrach Hirutei, B'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon Uvyomechon, Ub'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Ubizman Kariv, V'emru Amen, Yehesh Mei Rabbah Mevarach Li'olam Alalmei Almaya, Yitvarach v'yishavach v'yitfa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudashah Bricho La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata da'amiran b'alma v'emru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shmaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'emru Amen. Oseh Shalom Lima Hu Yaraseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'emru Amen.
Wait, no. As we end the program, you will again hear the names on the monument. They're also in your program. You can take them home. And there is a basket in the middle with small candles like this. And you just turn on the light at the bottom. If you want to, for those who wish to, you may go up and take a candle and place it on the monument to leave as a remembrance. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you.
Herman Lisman.
Take care.
Hi, Vic. I'm all right. How are you?
You were the very first one. The white objects. Oh, I'm sorry. These are candles. They're supposed to run. Near loved ones. So that other
In sunlight, it's very weak. What are your brother-in-law?